In October 2012, in Antioquia, Colombia, Catalina Vargas vanished from her residence. Her disappearance sent immediate shockwaves through her family and the community. After nearly 23 months, a witness came forward, revealing something that would completely alter the perception of truth in this complex case. The reality that unfolded was far different from initial expectations. Before we continue, write in the comments where you are listening from, and at the end, I would like to know your opinion on the outcome of the case. The morning of October 15, 2012, unfolded quietly for Catalina, who was 2 months pregnant, as she commenced her daily routine within her shared residence. The sounds of mourning filled the domestic space, signaling the start of what appeared to be an ordinary Monday. She moved through the familiar rooms, attending to various tasks, entirely unaware of the unforeseen turn her life was about to take. As the early afternoon hours approached, her focus shifted towards preparing for an anticipated appointment. This involved a series of small domestic actions to ensure everything was in order before she needed to leave the home. The day's schedule was proceeding as planned, with each task completed in a calm and orderly fashion. In the later part of that same afternoon, she arrived at a medical facility alongside her partner, Andres. Inside the office, a consultation took place where a personal and significant development was officially verified. This news, shared in a professional setting, marked a moment of quiet significance for the couple. With the afternoon turning into evening, the couple left the medical facility and made their way back to their shared residence. The journey home was uneventful, a routine commute after an important appointment. The day was slowly drawing to a close, and the tranquility of the evening began to settle around their home. A neighbor later recalled the quiet evening, stating they had seen the couple's vehicle return to the residence as usual. Later that evening, precisely around 8 o'clock, she engaged in a telephone conversation with her son. This brief but regular exchange was a customary part of her routine, connecting her with her child. The call concluded, and the evening continued within the quiet confines of the shared home. The remaining hours of October 15th passed without any further known external interactions. She remained inside her residence, performing the usual evening tasks before the day finally drew to a close. The domestic scene suggested a peaceful end to a day that held no apparent abnormalities. Her son, reflecting on their last conversation, later commented that his mother sounded just as she always did, with nothing out of the ordinary. As dawn broke on October 16, 2012, the usual morning rhythms at the shared residence began to deviate subtly from their expected pattern. A quietness lingered, different from the active starts typically observed. The transition from night to day brought an unfamiliar stillness to the household. By mid-morning, the expected presence of the mother within her home was notably absent. Her usual activities and movements were not observed, leaving an unexpected void in the daily routine. The absence became increasingly pronounced as the hours continued to pass. A profound and unsettling silence began to permeate the residence, taking the place of the familiar sounds of daily life. This unexpected quietude marked the beginning of an unforeseen emptiness, hinting at an unexplained disruption to the established order. Andres later stated to an acquaintance that she had left suddenly, but offered no further details about her whereabouts. The absence lingered, growing more conspicuous with each passing moment, quietly transforming from a mere change in routine to something far more perplexing and concerning. The day continued, yet an unacknowledged tension began to build around the now silent home. Before we continue, if you haven't subscribed yet, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any cases. The morning of October 16th brought no contact from Catalina, leading her own mother, Laura, a retired teacher, to experience a subtle yet growing sense of disquiet. Calls went unreturned and initial text messages remained unanswered, a departure from their regular communication. This unusual silence began to cast a shadow over Laura's morning, replacing her usual routine with an emerging sense of unease. As October 17th progressed, Laura's attempts to reach her daughter became more persistent and increasingly anxious. Each unanswered call amplified her worry, transforming her initial concern into a palpable fear that something was seriously wrong. The absence of a simple reply, once a minor inconvenience, now felt like a heavy weight pressing down on her heart. Laura later commented, "My gut told me immediately something wasn't right. As a mother, you just know." By the evening of October 18th, Laura's repeated and increasingly frantic efforts to connect with both her daughter and her partner, Andres, proved entirely fruitless. This complete lack of communication, so out of character for her daughter, solidified a chilling premonition within Laura. The hope that had flickered slowly began to extinguish, replaced by a growing conviction that a grave situation was unfolding. Driven by an overwhelming sense of dread and a deepening, unspoken distrust of Andres's vague account of her daughter's departure, Laura made the agonizing decision to officially report her missing. On October 19th, she walked into the authorities' office, her heart heavy with fear, to declare her daughter's unexplained absence. The silence was deafening, Laura reflected. The worst sound a mother can hear. I just prayed to God for her safety, whatever it meant. On October 19th, following Laura's distressing report, a National Police Patrol unit arrived at her home, signifying the official commencement of a formal inquiry. The vehicle, a standard issue, pulled up to the curb, its presence a stark reminder of the gravity of the situation. This arrival marked a pivotal moment, transitioning the family's private agony into a matter for public investigation. The initial responders, a pair of uniformed officers, promptly began their methodical process of collecting preliminary information regarding the vanished mother. Their approach was measured and precise, focusing on establishing a factual basis for the unfolding events. They observed the surroundings, taking mental notes before engaging with Laura. Laura formally submitted the missing person report, articulating her profound concerns and detailing her daughter's last known movements. She recounted the unsettling lack of contact over several days, emphasizing how uncharacteristic this silence was. Her words painted a picture of a sudden and inexplicable absence. Laura stated, "I just wanted them to find her, to bring my daughter back home, safe and sound." The officers proceeded to conduct a standard interview with Laura, posing a series of precise protocol-driven questions about her daughter's daily routines, relationships, and any potential disputes. Their queries were direct and unemotional, designed to extract objective data. Each question chipped away at the hope Laura desperately clung to, replacing it with the cold reality of a formal investigation. This formal complaint, meticulously documented, officially triggered the opening of the missing person case. The incident was no longer confined to the family's escalating dread, but was now a file within the national police system, initiating a chain of procedures and responsibilities. The machinery of the law had begun to turn. The contrast between the raw, visceral panic of Laura and the methodical, almost detached approach of the authorities became immediately apparent. While Laura grappled with unimaginable fear, the officers meticulously followed established protocols, their training dictating a calm and systematic response to the unfolding mystery. On October 19th, the National Police established an initial search perimeter around the shared residence, initiating their organized efforts to locate the missing mother. Their first objective was to secure the immediate surroundings, ensuring no potential traces were disturbed. This methodical approach marked a sharp contrast to the previous days of anxious, uncoordinated searching by loved ones. Family members and concerned neighbors, including Laura, immediately formed an informal search party, distributing flyers throughout the vicinity. They combed the local streets and common areas, driven by a desperate hope to find any sign of her. Their faces etched with worry, they showed the community's immediate and heartfelt response to the unsettling disappearance. One neighbor commented on the palpable anxiety, stating that the entire community felt a deep concern for the mother. Formalized search teams from the National Police soon began to systematically explore wider areas surrounding the shared residence and adjacent streets. These teams operated with a structured plan, mapping out grids and expanding their reach beyond the immediate neighborhood. Their disciplined search contrasted with the chaotic energy of the initial days. The initial days of this comprehensive search proved to be profoundly frustrating for all involved, as they yielded no immediate signs or traces of the missing mother. Despite the extensive efforts, no personal belongings, no footprints, and no confirmed sightings emerged. The lack of any concrete finding began to deepen the mystery surrounding her absence. Laura expressed her crushing disappointment, stating that each passing hour without news felt like an eternity, eroding her hope. During a preliminary forensic sweep of the shared residence, investigators noted the presence of faint bloodstains in various locations throughout the living space. These findings were carefully documented by the crime scene unit, who moved with precision through the quiet rooms, each discovery adding a layer of complexity to the unfolding situation. When questioned about these specific bloodstains, her partner, Andres, offered an explanation. He asserted that the marks were old and entirely unrelated to the mother's disappearance, suggesting they predated the current events. His account aimed to dismiss the significance of these findings, attempting to redirect the focus of the investigators. Investigators meticulously collected samples of these bloodstains for laboratory analysis, recognizing their potential importance. Each sample was carefully catalogued as potential raw evidence, vital for later examination. The collection process was slow and deliberate, designed to preserve every possible piece of information from the residence. An investigator later mentioned that every detail, no matter how small, held potential significance. A thorough review of local security camera footage from the early hours of October 16th showed no discernible images of the mother leaving the residence. Despite hours spent scrutinizing the recordings from various angles, there was no visual confirmation of her departure, as Andres had described. This absence of visual proof further complicated his version of events. Initial interviews conducted with residents living nearby confirmed a general lack of any unusual noises or disturbances emanating from the couple's home on the night of her disappearance. Neighbors reported a quiet evening, typical for the area, without any sounds that might indicate a struggle or an argument. One resident stated, "It was a peaceful night, nothing out of the ordinary that I recall." The collective efforts from both official channels and the community continued tirelessly, yet the complete absence of any tangible findings left investigators grappling with a deepening sense of perplexity. Each lead seemed to dissolve, leaving behind only questions and an ever-growing void where answers should have been. The mystery intensified with every fruitless search. The National Police quickly identified Andres, the partner of the vanished mother, as the primary person of interest due to the glaring inconsistencies in his account of her disappearance. From the moment the report was filed, his narrative raised red flags for the investigators, setting him apart from other individuals questioned in the early stages of the inquiry. The focus of the investigation began to narrow considerably on his actions and statements. During his initial questioning, Andres steadfastly maintained that his partner had departed from their shared residence in the early hours of October 16th, following a heated argument, claiming she took a substantial amount of money with her. He presented this as a voluntary exit, suggesting she had simply chosen to leave without further contact. Laura's brother later expressed his profound doubt about Andres' honesty, stating, "He always seemed to have an answer for everything, but it never felt true. I just prayed to God for the truth to come out." Investigators found Andres' explanation of her sudden departure, particularly the detail about her leaving with a significant sum of cash, to be highly unconvincing. This specific detail lacked any corroborating evidence and seemed to defy logical behavior for someone merely walking away from her life, especially considering her pregnancy. The absence of any financial activity or contact further weakened his story. The preliminary forensic analysis of the faint bloodstains discovered earlier in the residence directly challenged Andres' earlier claim that they were old and insignificant. The laboratory results indicated a more recent origin for these traces, placing them within the time frame of her disappearance. An investigator remarked, "The evidence found in the home simply did not align with his narrative of old stains, pointing to a more recent event." Andres' general demeanor throughout these initial inquiries was consistently noted by the investigators as evasive and uncooperative. His responses often lacked directness, and he frequently shifted focus or provided vague details. This behavior further deepened the investigators' suspicion regarding his potential involvement in her unexplained absence, moving beyond mere doubt. As the investigation broadened, police also began to scrutinize Andres' close associates, including his nephew, Diego. Given Diego's proximity to the couple's daily life and his presence in the area around the time of the disappearance, he became another person of interest. Andres' sister commented to a friend, "Diego was always very loyal to Andres. perhaps too loyal for his own good. Diego was subsequently subjected to initial questioning regarding his activities and any knowledge he might have possessed concerning the critical period of her disappearance. Investigators sought to verify his whereabouts and gain insight into his interactions with both Andrés and the vanished mother during those crucial days. His statements were meticulously cross-referenced. The accumulating contradictions within Andrés's story, coupled with his persistent reluctance to fully cooperate with the authorities, inexorably placed him at the undisputed center of the unfolding investigation. Each evasive answer and every piece of conflicting evidence solidified the investigator's belief that he held the key to understanding her fate, despite his unwavering denials. The investigative team gathered in a somber office, poring over the initial reports and a timeline meticulously constructed since October 19th. The room was heavy with the silence of concentrated thought, interrupted only by the rustle of papers and low murmurs. Various documents lay spread across a large table, detailing every lead and dead end. One investigator articulated the glaring inconsistencies in Andrés's statements, particularly his ever-changing narrative about the mother's departure from their shared residence. His story kept shifting, the investigator noted, making it almost impossible to pin down a single, coherent account of that morning. This observation highlighted a significant crack in Andrés's credibility, deepening the suspicions against him. Another detective underscored the critical significance of the bloodstains found in the residence, pointing out Andrés's weak explanation for their presence. The preliminary forensic indicators suggested a more recent origin than he had claimed, contradicting his story. This physical evidence, though not yet fully conclusive, spoke volumes louder than any of Andrés's denials. A third voice in the room proposed a theory centered on the heated argument Andrés admitted to having with his partner. This theory suggested the dispute might have tragically escalated beyond what Andrés was willing to disclose to authorities, leading to her disappearance. The prospect of an argument turning fatal became a central point of discussion. The room buzzed with debate over the possibility of a voluntary disappearance versus the grim reality of foul play. The complete lack of any financial activity from the mother or any contact with her son weighed heavily towards the latter. She wouldn't just abandon her son, Laura's brother affirmed in an earlier conversation with an investigator. Never. Something terrible must have happened. Discussions then turned to Andrés's nephew, Diego, and the brief, almost dismissive nature of his initial testimony. Investigators wondered if Diego was consciously withholding crucial information or genuinely unaware of his uncle's actions. His guarded responses in earlier interviews provided little clarity, only adding another layer to the enigma. The lead investigator emphasized that despite the mounting suspicions and contradictory accounts, the absence of a crucial piece of definitive evidence remained their greatest challenge. "We have strong suspicions, but we need more," she stated, her voice firm. Something that leaves no room for doubt about what truly transpired. A consensus gradually emerged among the team. They desperately needed something tangible, a singular piece of information that could unequivocally move the investigation beyond mere theory and speculation, transforming their suspicions into undeniable facts. The case felt like a complex puzzle missing its most vital piece. For nearly 23 months, the investigation into the pregnant mother's disappearance languished, marked by frustrating dead ends and an agonizing lack of concrete proof. The case, initially active, slowly receded from the headlines, becoming one of many unsolved mysteries in the region. Despite the police's initial efforts, without any new information, the active search eventually scaled back, leaving a painful void for the family. During this extended period, Laura, the mother, tirelessly worked to keep her daughter's case in the public eye. She organized numerous community marches, distributed updated flyers, and consistently made impassioned appeals through various media channels. Her unwavering resolve prevented the case from fading into obscurity, a testament to a mother's relentless love. In September 2014, these persistent and heartfelt efforts finally bore fruit when a man named Carlos, deeply moved by one of Laura's televised pleas, decided to step forward. He had carried a burden of information for nearly 2 years, and Laura's raw anguish compelled him to speak. Carlos felt a moral imperative, knowing he held a crucial piece of the puzzle. Carlos first made contact with Laura, sharing a startling revelation that confirmed her deepest fears. The information he disclosed was so profound that Laura immediately understood its implications, urging him to formalize his testimony with the judicial authorities without delay. He recounted his story to the authorities, a turning point for the stalled investigation. His testimony detailed a chilling encounter that occurred in the early morning hours of October 16, 2012. Carlos described being approached by Andres' nephew, Diego, on that fateful night. The urgency and clandestine nature of Diego's request immediately raised Carlos's suspicions, a feeling he had suppressed for months. Carlos later reflected, "I knew it was wrong, but fear kept me silent for so long. Seeing her mother's tears, I couldn't carry that secret anymore. God forgive me." Diego had urgently asked Carlos for assistance in disposing of a woman's body, indicating a desperate and clandestine act had occurred. This request, made in hushed tones under the cover of darkness, provided the first direct link to potential foul play in the mother's disappearance. It was a detail that shattered the narrative of a voluntary exit. This pivotal testimony provided the first undeniable connection between the family's partner's inner circle and the possibility of a grave incident. It fundamentally altered the investigation's direction, shifting it from a missing person inquiry to a serious criminal investigation. The authorities immediately recognized the immense significance of Carlos's statement. With Carlos's statement, the initial forensic findings of the faint bloodstains discovered months earlier in the shared residence, previously considered circumstantial, now gained undeniable significance. The earlier laboratory results, indicating a recent origin for the blood, became a powerful corroborating piece of evidence, aligning perfectly with the new testimony. Investigators now focused intensely on corroborating Carlos's account. This involved re-interviewing individuals, expanding surveillance efforts, and initiating new targeted inquiries based on the fresh lead. The entire approach to the case was revitalized, moving with renewed purpose and direction. This singular revelation from Carlos eliminated all other ambiguous theories surrounding the mother's disappearance, establishing a clear and undeniable path towards a homicide investigation. The long-standing mystery began to unravel, exposing a much darker truth than anyone had initially dared to imagine. Andres found himself confronted by investigators with the overwhelming weight of evidence, including Carlos's pivotal testimony and the meticulous forensic analysis of bloodstains from the shared residence. The interrogation room pulsed with an undeniable tension, as years of evasion began to unravel under the relentless pressure of irrefutable facts. Each piece of evidence presented chipped away at his carefully constructed denials, leaving him with increasingly few places to hide. The irrefutable proof, meticulously gathered over more than 2 years, ultimately cornered Andres, leaving him with no plausible denial regarding his actions. The consistent narrative from Carlos, corroborated by the scientific findings, painted a grim picture that his shifting stories could no longer obscure. An investigator later commented, "The truth, once hidden, finds its way out, no matter how long it takes." Andres ultimately revealed that a heated argument, which transpired on October 16, 2012, tragically escalated into physical violence. This confrontation, he disclosed, culminated in the unforgivable act that led to his partner's passing. The revelation, though long suspected, brought a chilling confirmation of the worst fears held by the missing mother's family. Despite exhaustive search efforts and new operations launched based on Andres' account, her body was officially confirmed to have never been found. Investigators scoured various areas, following every lead provided, but the physical remains of the mother remained tragically elusive. This harsh reality left a permanent void, denying her family the closure of a proper farewell. Laura received the heartbreaking news from the authorities that her daughter was presumed deceased, bringing a wave of profound grief that mixed with a painful sense of confirmation. The long, agonizing wait had ended with the most dreaded outcome, though her spirit found strength in her faith. Laura later shared, "My heart broke all over again, but I knew finally that my sweet daughter was at peace with Jesus." On April 10, 2016, Andres was formally arrested and charged with the homicide of his partner, marking a significant step in the pursuit of justice. The legal process for his trial was set to begin, a new chapter in the long and arduous journey for accountability. This arrest was a moment of stark relief for the community, though tinged with sadness. The legal proceedings culminated in November 2018, when Andres was sentenced to 22 years in prison for aggravated homicide and abortion. This verdict marked a historic precedent in the region, being handed down without the victim's body ever having been found, underscoring the power of circumstantial and testimonial evidence when meticulously presented. The verdict, while offering a measure of legal justice, left the community and Laura grappling with the ongoing pain of loss, particularly the absence of a final resting place. Yet, amidst their sorrow, there remained an enduring belief in ultimate peace, holding on to the hope that, through everything, goodness would prevail. If you followed along to the end, please like the video, write in the comments what you thought of the case's conclusion, and take the opportunity to subscribe and activate the notification bell. Stay with me and watch the next video on the card appearing on screen. I'll see you in our channel's next case.